here's why you keep sabotaging your own spiritual growth. And this is where it gets kind of tricky to learn how to understand what might be taking you out. One thing I really want to talk about is understanding self-sabotage and how it can influence your spiritual growth and how to properly move forward. When it comes to understanding spiritual awakening, one of these topics that we're often not really expressing enough interest about is not just limited belief work, but self-sabotaging our healing, our spiritual growth, our manifesting, and so forth. So let's dive into exactly that. So the number one thing that I want to talk about today is, first, let me just say I am Ashley at theawakenstate.net. If you don't know me, you can read all about me at theawakenstate.net about page, learn my story and how I went through spiritual awakening and so forth. Now I'm a mindset teacher. And the number one thing that I really want to talk about today, though, is self-sabotage. This has been an ever-going journey of learning how to overcome self-sabotage habits. And I wanted to really address this because here's one thing that I found with my clients, with just talking to my spiritual friends, is this concept of self-sabotage can really hold us back. And we often make it way bigger, a big, scary, hairy monster under our bed when it doesn't need to be. And so let's dive into 3 ways we can start to identify self-sabotage and how we can start to work with that to our personal advantage. So when it comes to looking at the first one that I see a lot is the fear of success or the fear of failure. And what happens instead, if we have a fear of success and a fear of failure happening simultaneously, we refuse to take action. We refuse to move forward on what we set out to do. And a big piece of this is understanding the shadow self and also moving forward regardless, moving through the fear. When it comes to I've got a cat. Okay, we're just gonna roll with this and throw the kitty. Okay, so when it comes to understanding the shadow self, we have to look at, okay, our shadow aspects are parts of who we are from our past self. The shadow self is basically our past self. Now, when it comes to understanding the shadow, we have to look at if we have a fear of success or a fear of failure, we also at the same time are just refusing to take action. And sometimes action develops confidence. Action allows us to develop the experience and the practice necessary to fully move forward. So a lot of times when we have a fear of success or a fear of failure, we might be experiencing imposter syndrome, where we are not really sure if we personally are good enough. At the same time, when we have a fear of failure or a fear of success, another thing we might want to look at is those limited beliefs that are stopping us in our tracks from really moving forward, such as, I don't know if I'm good enough to do this. So that stops us because we feel that we have a fear of failure to actually get it done. At the same time, we really just need to start getting back into action because action will always squish the fear. The next one is emotional attachment. So 9 times out of 10, when we have self-sabotage happen, there is always an emotional attachment. Now, when I say emotional attachment, we can connect this back to spiritual principles and how when you understand different levels of looking at how attachment is as a spiritual concept, a big piece of this is understanding emotional attachment. How does emotional attachment connect to self-sabotage? Well, it's connecting to sabotage in many different ways. But the hugest one that you might be familiar with is feeling that you are attaching to a particular result or a particular outcome. And when we look at it from this level of understanding how manifestation works, for example, we're attaching to a particular outcome. We're attaching to a particular result. We're attaching to a particular relationship and so forth. So there's this element here of emotionally attaching to something kind of suffocates the desire. It suffocates our way of understanding the desire and so forth. So if you were to just think about the reason why we emotionally attach to something, it's often due to we are attaching to the how, we're attaching to the result, and so forth. So how does this really enable self-sabotage? Well, because there's so much emphasis on attaching to the result, we're not fully embodying our present self. We're not fully in the present moment where direction is given, where intuitive guidance is given, and so forth. So because of this, when it comes to looking at healing, for example, a really important, sorry, my cat literally just fell in a box. Keep it cool. Okay. Okay. Cut. Okay. In terms of emotional attachment, we have to see that, well, when it comes to healing, you can deflect your own healing by saying things like, I'm not worthy of healing, or I feel like I'm a special case and this is, really big trauma and there's no way I could possibly heal. All of that kind of mentality is self-sabotage because there's an emotional attachment to the story. So there's an emotional attachment almost to this victim-like story of who you are, and it's not allowing you to accept in change, in healing, and most importantly, embodying your healed self. So what instead happens, and we talked a lot about this in Rebirth, my recent live workshop, is a lot of the times what happens is instead we have emotionally attached the outcome so heavily to our past self that we're not allowing ourselves to embody the new self, the new identity of who we are, so to speak. So because there's no change in the self-concept, we just believe that we're not capable of healing. We don't feel we're worthy of healing. And this is a really powerful thing to think about, because I've had clients in the past who are just like, well, because this and this happened to me, I can't heal. I'm not capable of healing. But the reality is there's just an emotional attachment that is stopping that from happening. And that's kind of the illusion that we're refusing to talk about. It's the illusion that we think that there's an upper limit that is stopping us from healing, that is stopping us from manifesting, that is stopping us from really moving forward. But it's just an emotional attachment. Once you understand the emotional attachment, you can start to heal that and break free from that. Okay. The third one ties into what we were just talking about, the negative self-perception. So when we have negative self-perceptions of ourselves, such as imposter syndrome, deflection, feeling lack of worthiness, feeling insecurity, feeling I'm not deserving, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, all these conversations of limitations of who we are as a person, these are also going to create self-sabotage in our spiritual growth journey, in our healing journey, and our manifesting journey. Because if you don't believe that you are worthy and deserving of something, you have certain standards and boundaries, and the universe won't override your free will. So because of that, you have certain ways of doing and being, and it won't override those things until you feel in your core that you are worthy, that you are deserving, and so forth. And that comes with really helping change that identity level, changing at the identity level to reinforce positive self-concept, to really look at where are you doing the negative self-talk? Where are you saying that you don't deserve it? Where are you saying that, I have to put my desires last, and so forth? That turn of changing the self-concept is crucial to really understanding the identity shift that is necessary to break free from self-sabotage. Because when you think about the negative self-perception, it's how you're treating yourself. It's how you're showing up for yourself. It's your standards. It's your boundaries. It's how you personally are presenting your internal state of who you are. So when we start to change that internal state, the external state starts to change with it. The external world starts to change with it. And because of that internal and external shift occurring, you can start to break free from that self-sabotage. And those are some of the easiest ways that I know personally how to start to break free and kind of, I want to say shake up what is happening behind the scenes with the sabotage and allow yourself to start shifting and pivoting out of it. So I know this is a bit of a harder topic when it comes to looking at our shadow self, because it's a very important part of spiritual growth in relationship to spiritual awakening, manifestation, healing, emotional healing, the mind-body connection. Understanding our shadow self is a crucial part of our emotional healing journey. At the same time, if any of this really stood out to you or triggered you, or you felt really connected to it, I would love to hear your own personal thoughts in the comments in relationship to self-sabotage. Don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, so this is basically it. I wanted to wrap this up with one final thing where I wanted to invite you to, if you do need more emotional healing work, I highly, highly recommend you check out my chakra starter kit, which talks all about the chakras in relationship to emotional healing, teaching you the ins and outs of how to heal the 7 chakra system, and most importantly, how to work with the mind-body connection in relationship to emotional healing. It is one of my most passionate topics to talk about, so I created a chakra toolkit, basically a little starter kit to help any beginner or someone who wants a deep dive into the chakra system. So that is at theawakenstate.net/chakra if you are interested in diving headfirst into that. Other than that, I will leave you with that free gift. And if you like our videos, please hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.